Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in the bunker, Purple State Party. You should know what we're doing by now. We're repping America, the center, and common sense. And these things, yay! Alright, so let's just kick this off. It's going to be a tough one, man. I've been battling some computer problems. Been battling some long work hours. A lot of other stuff going on. But let's kick it off, man. So, this one's called Blame It on Brandon. From the movie Michael Caine starred in Blame It on Rio. Kind of good film, man. Anyhow, I'm really tired of everything that I'm seeing right now. The blame game, the lies, the shams, politicians who just want to run their own agenda, whatever the cost may be. You know, I've always said it, it's really easy to defund the police when you have armed security. It's really easy to allow the price of gasoline and steaks and bacon and all of that stuff to just go through the roof, when you got millions of dollars. And I was hearing a survey on the radio where they were talking about a leading polling service did a poll, and they found that somewhere in the neighborhood of 26% of respondents, excuse me, let me rephrase that. So they asked different questions. And one of the questions were, how many people in America have a household income of more than $1 million? And the answer that came back on the survey was 26. The real number is about 0, less than 1. Those are the people who are pushing the agendas. People like George Soros, billionaires, who push these anti-police DAs who get into office and think that the way to fix things is to go after the police officers. They say things like, we can't incarcerate our way out of poverty. Doesn't even mean anything. Who is ever going around trying to incarcerate their way out of poverty? Nobody was. You commit a crime, you go to jail. It's kind of simple. It's 1 + 1 math, really it is. Commit a crime, go to jail. Protect the citizens. But we have people like Soros and appointing Gascon and the guy in Philly, the guy in New York, Bodine up in San Francisco. And they're looking for every excuse to just let criminals out of jail. I was reading today that it turns out that the homeless dude who pushed the lady in front of a train and killed her had been hospitalized 20 times with mental illness. I think that's what we should be focusing on. That people shouldn't be going to jail in double digits and be running free. People shouldn't be going to mental health facilities, mental hospitals, into the double digits. You just have to tap them out and just say, look, you're broken, man. That's just it. You're broken. But we don't do that. And we don't do that because of the very same reason why this woman here had to go on national Russian television with a sign saying, no war, they're lying to you. I have not heard what happened to her, but I can hazard a guess that it's not good. Because in Russia, the news agencies are propaganda machines. We shrug it off here. We go, oh well, CNN's propaganda. But no, propaganda is a sign of evil. Quite simply, it is a sign of evil. I don't care where that propaganda comes from. I don't care if it's the lamestream media trying to hide Trump's accomplishments. I don't care if it's a white guy trying to blame black people for all the problems of the world. I don't care which side it comes from. I sit in the center, okay? Propaganda is a tool of evil people. And we are allowing it here, and we have now allowed it to affect elections, to affect policy, to affect the prices of things. We're seeing utter destruction in Ukraine. We're seeing women being shot down as they flee with their children, and their children killed too. We are seeing the absolute horrors of war. And meanwhile, back here, where we're all warm and safe, we're propagandizing it. We're using it as a crutch. Blame Putin for rising oil prices? The prices were skyrocketing before the war even started. They try to say that Biden's doing a great job of handling it, putting the pressure on. Bullshit. Bullshit. The truth of the matter is, had Trump been in office, the Ukraine would not be under attack right now. He would have shown force before Putin crossed the border. Because once Putin crossed the border, he couldn't back out. And meanwhile, back in Russia, in Mother Russia, the propaganda machine is talking about Russia trying to free Russians from neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. People don't understand. They don't believe. Russians hear from Ukrainians. And they argue with them. No, it's not that bad. Hey, if you guys had taken care of the neo-Nazis, Putin wouldn't have to go in there. Really? See, that's why propaganda is a tool of evil. Because propaganda is just another word for lies. It's just another word for lies. And one of the big lies that came out this week was Hunter Biden's laptop. Jen Psaki there saying, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of intel officials agree. New York Post, Hunter Biden's infamous laptop confirmed in the New York Times. Jack down there, guys, I'm starting to think the media is lying to us. Carol chimes in on Twitter. Twitter suspended a major newspaper's account for a story everyone is now forced to acknowledge was true. That's not good. 10% of Biden voters said that had they known that laptop was true, they wouldn't have voted for him. The media wanted Biden in office. They didn't want an outsider like Trump running the show. They needed Biden. They needed to get back into the pockets of the politicians, stuff them with cash, deliver the message, and get what they want. They have an agenda, and it's not an agenda for your best interest. We're going to get to it a little bit more later, but there's people out there who feel like the Democrats, the media, defend their rights, and that's cool. Like, I have no problem. Let's take gay rights, okay? Because that's kind of in the news. We're going to talk about that. I applaud efforts to protect the LGBT community, okay? To educate people, to stop the hate. I'm all for that. But keep in mind that while they're protecting your rights or trying to provide a positive message to end the hate, they're also driving up the gas prices. They're also putting in laws and regulations and fees and taxes that make California and other states unlivable. Unlivable unless you're that less than 1%. Less than 5% make over $500,000 in this country. And that's about what it takes nowadays to have any sort of life in some of these states and in some of these cities. And these are the very same cities, such as San Francisco, that go, as we're going to see, go above and beyond to protect the LGBT community. And I'm not saying people shouldn't protect the LGBT community, okay? I'm just saying that there's a way to protect that community and not all the other bullshit, okay? I'm all for police reform if it's done right. I'm all for criminal justice reform. I'm a product of an alternative to jail. I was given a choice, but we saw it in Portland. 1,600 people were given the choice to clean up their lives, and only 2 people took it up. 2 out of 1,600. It doesn't work. Catching and releasing and hoping that those people come back for help does not work. Allowing illegal immigrants into the country with a promise to appear does not work. We need to deal with things in a world of reality, and you can't deal with things in a world of reality when you're living in a world of lies. See, here we go. NBC, oh, well, it was a foreign intelligence operation. No, it wasn't. It was a scumbag. A scumbag whose dad was a vice president and whose dad is now the president. This is just corruption. If you think propaganda is a tool of the evil, what do you think corruption is? Corruption is the weapon of evil. Because corruption is what makes good people make bad decisions. New York Times finally admits it. See, they didn't want to believe the Post because I guess the Post is right-leaning and the Times is left-leaning. So once the left-leaning papers has to say, oh, it's true, then it's true. And the New York Times buried this 27 paragraphs into a story about Hunter Biden's tax and financial difficulties. Okay? I mean, if you had something on Trump's family before he was elected, bring it up. It wouldn't have affected me. I voted for an independent in 2016. Okay? If you brought up something that Ivanka Trump was doing what Hunter has been proven to do, that might have changed my vote. I don't think I would have voted for Biden. I would have probably voted independent again. I think Biden was a horrible choice all the way around, regardless of political leanings. This asshole, Schiff, Hunter Biden laptop's a smear story, Russian propaganda. So he's lying. Okay, he lied. Why does he still have a Twitter account? He's a fucking liar, lying piece of shit. A little bit of humor just to break up this rant, but New York Times announces they have finally confirmed the Watergate tapes are authentic. Babylon B, hitting it right on the head. Debate. Here you go. The president versus the guy that's running against him. Joe Biden lies to your face and calls it a Russian plant. And he knew. He knew. We can't accept lies just because they come from our team. We can't accept any of this bullshit, no matter what team it comes from. I don't want to elect Republicans that lie. I don't want to elect Democrats who lie. I want to elect a centralist who just tells the truth. Whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not. Maybe some of you know what a drug or alcohol intervention is. But that's when somebody's problem has gotten so bad that their friends and family have to sit them down and say, you are destroying this family. You are destroying everything we've built. You are just destroying the lives of your children. You are destroying the life of your spouse. You ever have to face that? I had to face it. I had to sit in group sessions and have people tell me and call me out on all my bullshit and tell me that I was an awful person living the way I was living. But I got better because I heard the truth. The truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. I'm not shilling for either side. I'm shilling for the truth. Should Congress hold big tech accountable for smothering the bombshell Hunter Biden laptop revelations right before the 2020 elections? Yes. We live in a day, in time, where we should all be better educated. Not by some fucking college that wants to churn out lefty rebels. No. We should be educated because we can hear differing opinions and find multiple sources that to confirm or deny it. I don't mind. I don't mind when I think I know something to be true and find out it's false. I'd rather just know. I am a great fan of history, and I don't watch historical films. I watch documentaries because I don't want Hollywood or whoever, and I'm not trashing them in that. I'm just simply saying that I don't want to learn false information. I don't want to operate on false information. Do you? Do you want to operate on false information just so that your side looks good? Really? I'm a Patriot fan, as you can see right over there. Okay? I didn't like the Tuck rule. Okay? I didn't like it. I found myself defending it, saying things like, well, if the referee said it. But deep down, I didn't want to win that way, man. I wanted to win because my team won. I don't want to find out that my team is cheaters. Nation wishes there was some way they could have known about the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election. I'm an older dude, man. I come from a day where this partisanship and this propaganda was a nasty word. Okay? Propaganda was, ooh, if you said something was propaganda, like, oh, those were fighting words. And they would have destroyed Joe Biden back in the day. They would have destroyed him. The man is not competent, okay? His son is dirty, all right? He's participated in some dirty shit. He has said some racist shit. He has voted for racist shit. There is no way that Joe Biden should be in the White House. If people just told the truth, if people simply said, if you elect this guy, he is going to be led by the far left because he's too weak to stand up to him. He's too incompetent. He is going to allow the radical elements to rule the day. But they didn't say that. They said Trump bad. Trump only give tax break to rich people. When in reality, Trump's tax breaks literally removed federal taxes from the bottom. Also, yes, corporate tax breaks. Okay, we all subscribe to them. We all buy stuff from these corporations, these evil, profit-driven people. You'll bitch about the oil company and then go to Starbucks. Okay? You'll buy an Apple phone made by slave labor and completely overpriced. And then you will tweet about, capitalism. Look in a fucking mirror, man. What are you really standing on? Because this was vital information. This was vital information. All right? This is a pattern of corruption that we shouldn't have allowed in the Oval Office. That's just it. Okay? I was once a Democrat. I then left for the Republicans, and then I became independent. All right? I'm not a Republican shill. I'm not. Neither side likes me, man. I hope you like me. I hope you listen. I hope you start to feel what I'm trying to say. I'm attacking a party that I consider to be misguided, evil liars. Okay? And I will attack the Republicans the same way. I've attacked Texas for their draconian abortion law. One of the worst laws that has been passed. Okay? I would rather teach critical race theory in schools than outlaw abortion. Okay? At the head of the lying committee is the pretty propagandist, Jen Psaki. This is Some satire here, I guess. We have crushed the Russian economy. No, you've crushed the Russians, okay? The elite still have their money and they still have their power and they still get what they want. That's 2 economies in 1 year. Epic. Way to go, Team Blue. They have destroyed our economy. Okay? You don't buy it. The lefties out there, they don't buy it because the media is in full propaganda mode. They're defending his actions. They allow Psaki to say things like this, that Tom Cotton had a chance to back the Ukraine, but he voted against the Ukraine. No, that was part of a $1.5 trillion budget. It should have been sent before the invasion, but Biden blocked it to avoid offending Putin. He also blocked it because that should have been standalone. They take one good idea and then wrap it with a bunch of shit and say, here, buy this. I may be Irish, but I'm not stupid. Joe Biden on St. Patrick's Day. Where's the outrage in this? I understand it. I get it. You know, I get it. Irish people are white, so racism against them doesn't exist. So Joe Biden's off the hook. Blaming Putin's oil, trying to blame Putin for the oil crisis, and that's what it is. The Communist Party has long known to infiltrate young college people and fill their heads with all of this bullshit. Well, there you go. Stop the pipelines. Natural gas is poison. Stop American drilling. It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. It's a topic for a later day. Here's the economic disaster. Look at Psaki right there, putting it in the spinomatic. It's Putin's fault. It's Trump's fault. It's COVID. It's racism. How is any of that driving up gas prices? How is it Trump's fault? How is it COVID's fault? We can talk. Well, I've read stuff about how COVID affected the oil industry. But as we recovered, even under Trump, we didn't see gas prices going up. Biden takes office, boom, they go through the roof. Keep in mind, the same thing happened under Obama. So gas prices were high under Obama. They were high under Biden, but they were low under Trump. But somehow it's Trump's fault that they're high, or it was... I don't know, man. I don't understand their spin sometimes. But people just buy it. They lap it up. I'm just going to say this one really quick. Kanye West gets banned from Twitter. He used KOON. But it's perfectly fine for Snoop Dogg to label Republicans as that. See, that's the evil of propaganda. You won't listen to anything I say. Democrats, liberals will not listen to anything that I say. Because I'm not one of them. I'm in the middle. Okay. Watching season 2 of Build Back Better. Yeah, dumpster fire. That sums it up pretty good. You can't afford an $8 gasoline, then buy a $50,000 car, you fucking idiot. See, this is their agenda. They have an agenda. And it doesn't matter how it affects the average American. Their agenda is more important than your livelihood. Just remember that. Because you're voting for these people. You think that $8 a gallon for gasoline, it's actually less than $6 here in California, but okay, whatever. You think that that's a step in the right direction because you've been led to believe this. But all along, we've been sold this story about climate change. How are we supposed to believe it? How are we supposed to believe something when you're telling us that Kamala Harris is a great vice president, that Joe Biden is a great president, a great candidate, that Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong and his laptop was a Russian plant, and Jen Psaki says that Russians meddled in the 2016 election. And Nancy Pelosi at the start of the COVID is telling people to go to Chinatown. How are we supposed to believe these people when it comes to something like climate change? I don't know how we're supposed to do it. Congressional liberals pressed Biden to declare emergency and restrict fossil fuels because they already have their electric vehicles. They already have the gas-guzzling, diesel-spewing fucking SUVs that drive them around. They don't give a shit. Pete Butthead, he fucking took a bike out of the back of an SUV and rode it in and was like, look, I rode to work. Okay? These people are shamming you, man. So anyhow, gas prices are getting so high that thieves are now just stealing gas to sell on the black market. Because that's what happens when the price is too high. The black market steps in and offers it at a lower cost because they're just simply stealing it. So now gas thieves have to face the brutally tough justice system of LA County. And I'm sure they're terrified. And now Pedro down there says of gas thieves, I'm glad they're doing this. No different than than the fuel companies are doing to us. Okay. Meanwhile, Pedro's probably paying exorbitant amounts of money to all kinds of corporations that price gouge. If you get your coffee from Starbucks, you can't complain about oil companies. Okay? Shut up. California pressing ahead with our electric vehicles, but is now asking us to avoid charging. They don't have a plan to produce more electricity by 2035, okay? They just want you to drive an electric vehicle. You will drive an electric vehicle, and we'll figure out the power thing later. They can't keep the lights on. They diverted power that was meant for Arizona, okay? They've shut down all the nuclear reactors here. They don't care, okay? You're voting for people who you think care, and they don't give a shit. Jussie Smollett was released. And it proves that white privilege is fake privilege. That green privilege. Okay? You got money, you got connections, you're going to skate. Okay? That's the ruling elite for you. In Russia, the elite get to have sirens that they could put on their cars and turn on the siren and go through traffic. That's what they want here. The elites here want all the power. They want to be able to do and say whatever they want. Again, Jussie Smollett should be absolutely hammered by the media. Not only did he fake a hate crime, he tried to implicate the president or the president's supporters in it, which meant he was implicating a group of people simply because they voted a certain way. That's not what we need for a good country. Another thing they never wanted to admit that Trump was right was NATO. Europe snorting up the cocaine of Putin's oil and gas. How are we supposed to defend you against somebody who you're buying your gas from? It seems like maybe you don't need to be defended against your gas supplier. I mean, last time I checked, I'm not looking for the government to protect me from Exxon. Exxon just wants my money. I'm bringing this one up. This was in Arizona. They're passing a bill to limit where you can film police officers. They don't want you within 8 feet, which makes a little bit of sense because that exasperates an already bad, tense situation. But the one thing I'm bringing up here is that the line right there, George Floyd, who had no chance to defend himself in court over the $20 bill that led him to the police encounter, he resisted arrest. Okay? Again, let's just be honest, okay? Chauvin went too far, but Floyd participated. Floyd was put into a police car, claimed that he was having distress. The police tried to help him out by taking him out of the car. He got belligerent and started fighting again. Okay? Cops here, I can't breathe all the time. Okay? It's a tactic that criminals use. The police relax a little bit. The criminal can get his wits about him and run off. That's what they do. The handcuffs are too tight. They complain to try to make a break for freedom. Okay? I'm sorry the dude's dead. You know, I'm sorry Chauvin's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. But that's the media for you. He had no chance. He had a chance. He could have just gotten into the police car. Amazon bails out of downtown due to violent crime surge. Dodges the consequences of woke policies. See, this is propaganda again. Amazon wants to be woke, but they don't want to live with the consequences. And they've got the money to move. But you know who doesn't have the money to move? The people who live there. That's the elite for you. That's the elite. The elite have attached themselves squarely onto the behind of the left. And the left just plays along. Here's Disney now in trouble with its own employees because Disney didn't do enough about the Don't Say Gay bill, which isn't about not saying gay. You know, in this country, about 3% of people are gay, about 1% are trans. They deserve to be protected, but their numbers are not so great that we need to start teaching about it in kindergarten. It doesn't make any sense. Does it? Why does there need to be discussion about sexuality before even junior high or what people know as middle school now? You know, it doesn't make sense. And we need honest discussion about these things. What does the bill actually say? What does the bill actually do? That's all. That's all. Parents want to know what's going on at school. Okay? And there's no sense in even talking about cis or straight gender identification or sexuality. You don't need to talk about any of that in kindergarten. Why would you push for something like that? That's why people call it the Don't Groom Kids bill. It's not grooming them in any way, shape, or form. It's grooming them to be sexualized. And that's creepy, man. It's creepy. San Francisco's boycott of 28 states backfires. I thought this was funny because they won't do business with anti-gay states. But then, you know, they added anybody who enacts anti-abortion laws. So, 26 states, so half the states can't do business with San Francisco, which of course means it's harder for them to contract work and things like that, and they're of course not going to, Florida, but they're starting to have mixed views on the approach. On the one hand, I believe in using our dollars to express our values. Boom. Right? But what's happening is that it's making things more expensive and it's getting a bit blurry. See right there. Band companies can work around the boycott by working through third-party vendors, drives up the cost. But one of the ones that they decided to ban was Nevada, because Nevada expanded the precinct size from 3,000 to 5,000, so residents of large apartment complexes could all be in the same voting precinct. And they find that to be... But the law placed Nevada on San Francisco's boycott list because the city considers any law that increases the number of people in a voting precinct to be voter suppression. I'm not making this shit up. This is what San Francisco said. Fact check me. If I'm wrong, tell me, please. I would love to be wrong about this. But I don't understand how it leads to voter suppression by expanding the precincts. I was hoping I was done with this fucking story. After watching Leah Thomas, little girl adjust dreams to just winning second place at the Olympics. Pink news. Caitlyn Jenner launches yet another disgraceful attack on trans athletes without a hint of irony. Where's the irony, Pink news? Caitlyn Jenner used to be Bruce Jenner, a man, and he competed against men. And now Caitlyn says, no, I just have the balls to stand up for women and girls in sports. How does this... I really... Okay, How does probably the most famous, most recognizable transgendered woman support keeping biological males out of women's sports? And nobody wants to listen to it. They want to bash her for it. A disgraceful attack. Make the men's category open. That's all you got to do. NCAA swimming champ caught in possession of performance-enhancing testicles. I look. Leah brought it on herself. She knew what would happen, and when people pointed out that it's unfair, she didn't step away. Narcissism, ego. Here's another weird one. So this guy here, this police officer, of course they want to highlight this. In a case that was highlighted during protests. But anyhow, the police officer was trying to arrest this guy, and the dude stabbed the police officer with some scissors, and the police officer shot and killed the guy. The Crown, which is basically like the prosecution, or the DAs, things like that, the Crown, argued unsuccessfully that the first shot was the only one that was legally justified. This is their agenda, man. This is their agenda. So let's get into some of the best here. Dangerous World News. Ukraine or else. Biden. What's this little thingy? Okay. U.S. horses terrified obese Americans will need them again for transportation. Waldo, much easier to find after becoming woke. Yeah, well, carrying a big yellow sign will do that for you. I understand the B's somewhat of an ultra-conservative type viewpoint. I have no problem with him wearing the rainbow. I think I would have left that out. But whatever, it's a joke. Tom Brady realizes it's easier to be hit by 300-pound linemen than stay at home all day with young kids. I just threw that in. Adam and Eve told God that Putin made them eat forbidden fruit. Zelensky begs Congress to bring back Trump. That's worth looking into a little bit, because the media did everything they could to get Trump out. And the fact remains, Trump was more for the people than the presidents that we had before and after. And I think that's just clear as day. Biden doesn't give a shit what happens. He wants oil prices to go up. He doesn't care about inflation. He just blames somebody else. His squad members and all of them, they just want book deals and re-elections. I can't figure out what Trump did that was so bad. I honestly, hand to God and all that, I can't figure out why he wasn't reelected, other than propaganda. Ever since I was born, I just see my country deteriorating more and more with every year that passes. And you know what that goes back to? Yeah, you got it. Propaganda. Our media is just a propaganda machine. We should be at the point right now where whatever is said by MSNBC or Jen Psaki, we should just believe the opposite. Because as we're seeing, that's the truth. The opposite of what the news tells you. The opposite of what Jen Psaki tells you. Okay? And if you live in a Republican state and they're fucking liars, don't believe them either. We have to stop believing the hype. We have to stop believing all of the things that we want to hear. If somebody says something that you want to hear, don't believe them until they can show you the pudding. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. I'm just one guy. These are my opinions. I come from the center. I probably have more Democratic ideals than I do Republican. It's probably true. I've never made a list. One of these days I will. I live in the middle for one reason. Because neither side represents me. I want gay rights as much as I want gun rights. Where does that leave me? I voted independent in 2016. In 2020, Trump earned my vote. That's the bottom line. We need to get back to people earning our votes, not us being convinced to vote for people. America was convinced to vote for Biden. And in 1 year, he has turned this great country into a fucking dumpster fire. And I see how you can even remotely argue that it is not a dumpster fire because of Brandon. Copious. Out. Love.